do it again. Hi guys, Tap here. I hope you're all keeping well. Lovely car for you on the channel. This week it is of course the GT4, the Cayman GT4, and that GT moniker synonymous with flying around a track at speed. This one looking beautiful in dark blue. Nothing fancy there, that's right Martin, no crayon or anything, just straight up dark blue, right?
Dark blue metallic.
Dark blue metallic. Looking great with those wheels as well. Those of you that know the GT brand will know that the residuals of these things were absolutely phenomenal, and we'll talk about that on the video. This one specifically, I've just been out in it and it's brilliant. You also know they've just released the GT4 RS variant, that's literally just dropped. Speaking to a guy at Scuderia Prestige yesterday, he was able to spec one up to 166k using the Weissach. That's right, isn't it?
Correct.
Weissach. Yeah, the additional Weissach tick boxes, loads of optional extras as we know on Porsche. We'll talk about that a little bit. But you may recognise the person stood next to me. So this is, of course, Martin.
Hi,
been on the
everyone.
channel before, right?
Yeah, been here before.
With the Lotus.
With the Lotus.
Pretty much about a year to date, I think, since we did the last shoot.
Yeah.
So he's now the proud owner of this car. We're going to chat to him about what it's like. We know he loves a track or two or three. How many laps do you reckon you've done in your track day history?
Oh,
Thousands.
probably not thousands, but quite a few. Yeah, enough to burn for a few sets of tyres, that's for sure.
Fantastic. So yeah, we're going to show you this car, go for a drive in it, and it is absolutely lovely. So yeah, let's crack on. Sweet. So here we are in the wonderful Cayman GT4.
How about that? Change of car.
It is a change of car for you. So you've gone from a Lotus, a car that you had to question whether or not it would start every time you turned it due to a flat battery, and if the brakes would get stuck, onto a car that is absolutely leagues apart in terms of reliability, right?
Well, so far, right? That's the dream. But yeah, we can talk all day probably about how the Lotus started to grate on me a little bit.
But the fun factor of the Lotus, yeah, you can't deny it. The low kart, as we call it.
The low kart. That was fantastic.
Absolutely, and this thing here though, the build quality, all right, different level. It's absolutely lovely to be sat inside it. And GT4, very, very desirable at the moment. So, let's talk stats.
Stats, okay, do stats.
Engine, what have we got? And of course we have to say the engine is in the best place in this car, right? It's in, what's talking to us? Oh, it's this. The engine is in the best place in this car, right? It's in the middle.
Yeah, so, well, as you know as well, nothing quite like a mid-engine car. So, I've done loads of front-engine cars, did the Lotus.
Yeah.
It's just nothing like it, to be honest. So,
did the Lotus have the engine in the front?
Sometimes it didn't have an engine at all. It just did whatever it felt like, to be honest. No, so the mid-engine, you just can't beat it. So I had a bit of a mad moment and thought, okay, getting a bit bored of the Lotus letting me down on a few occasions. So I thought, right, what can I go for? And to be honest, I've always had my heart on one of these GT4s. Just been watching the values and I just, as you do as a petrol head, you just have a mad 5 minutes and suddenly you're driving around in a new car and you're like, I don't know what happens.
Well, if this is the result of a mad 5 minutes, keep having mad 5 minutes, because this is absolutely lovely. I've got to say, when you pulled up, the sound of it, oh, it's just gorgeous. The wheels, the colour, it's just a beautiful looking car. Really, really impressed with it. So your initial impressions, right, when you took it out for a drive, because obviously you're going to be comparing it against the Lotus, no doubt, right? Yeah. Everything that you do in this car is going to be compared to the Lotus, but how was it? How did it compare? What was the initial feeling like?
It was just, you know what, it's quite similar, which I think is probably the best praise I can give it in terms of chassis anyway. Right. Ride quality, cornering, handling, it's fantastic. So obviously it's very different. I have driven these cars before, so I kind of knew what I was getting into anyway. But I was actually quite surprised in how good the chassis was, even compared to the Lotus. So yeah, fair play to Porsche, really.
Yeah, they've done a lovely job of this. And we were talking about stats. We got sidetracked there. So engine-wise, what we got?
We have a. I'm just going to go here. Can't see what's going on. 3.8 litre. So it's the 3.8.
That's the full fat, isn't it?
It's the full fat engine. It's the first time they put a 911 motor in a Cayman. So yeah, hats off to them for doing it, and it's fantastic. I've driven the 3.4,
yeah,
which is a nice unit, but it was begging for a bit more power, a bit more torque. But it's great. So it's the 991 Carrera S, 385 horsepower. I think it's 309 foot-pounds. But it's a great engine, and it's got that classic 911 sound, right? So you probably thought, oh, here comes the 911.
It does, absolutely. That's the first thing I noticed when you pulled up, is the sound of it. And of course, mid-engine, right? So you got that centre of gravity, or the centre of mass, I should say, right in the middle, pivoting around it.
Yeah. And
you can already tell this is like a go-kart to sort of drive around in. And do you think the fact they've gone for putting the 911 engine in here is because of the fact that there's constant quest for power? So the 911 engines, they've had to turbocharge them, and they need something to sort of take this up to the next level, right?
Yeah, I think so. And to be honest, I haven't driven the turbo engine, but this is what Porsche's all about for me. The naturally aspirated engine. I think it's just a great combination. Just that sweet engine, the 3.8. And don't forget, this engine is the DFI, so it doesn't have those historic issues they had, where some of the engines were made out of chocolate and they were starting to melt in that 997 generation. So it's solid as a rock. It sounds sweet. It revs for days.
Yeah.
I mean, what more could you want?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, actually, yeah, there's one more thing you could want, but we'll come on to that later, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's the red line on this?
It's just under 8 grand, so it's about 7-8.
Because we know this lump can rev a bit higher, right? When they tweak it and massage it using the right components.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, if you had to say, what's the most enjoyable aspect of this car?
That's a hard question. It's the whole package. It's like the Lotus. It's got the fun factor, but it's in a package which the Lotus should always have been.
Yeah.
You know, you've actually got creature comforts. It works. It starts.
Yeah.
No, but it's just the whole thing. My favourite bit's got to be the chassis. You know. Yeah. Like I say, I'm a chassis guy. The Lotus is a good.
You are a chassis guy. You know your chassis well.
That's it.
You know what to do on a racetrack. Unlike my good self, who would be flying into the barriers at a rate of knots. Absolutely. And you've got, of course, the Sport Chrono there, right?
Yeah.
That adds an extra 350 brake horsepower, doesn't it?
I think so.
As an option.
It even tells the time, which is quite.
It even tells the time as well. We should talk about Porsche Residuals, right? Because it's bonkers. Porsche Residuals at the moment are just insane. So we all know the 911 Turbo S, really in demand, 2-year wait list. Cars are selling for above MSRP. This GT4 new, do you know what it is list new?
This was about 75.
75. And how old is this car?
It's 15.
15.
So 26 years.
6 years old. And what did you have to pay to buy it second hand?
I paid 74.
So, in 6 years, it's lost virtually nothing.
Yeah, basically.
Which is insane. And if you're getting into a car like this, it's going to give you the confidence that really you're not going to lose that much money on it. So, are Porsche paying you to drive this?
Yeah, they are.
They are, pretty much. Do you mind talking about the GFV on your agreement on this?
Yeah, we can do. I can't remember all the details. I tend to ignore them once I bought the car because it's quite scary. It makes me cry.
And you know that you're probably going to do all right on this.
Yeah, but yeah, to be fair, I think the car's going to be worth a lot more than a GFV.
Yeah,
so I've got
100%.
I think I've got 3.5 years. I mean, to be honest, it's probably going to be worth very similar, isn't it? In 3.5 years' time.
I think so, mate.
Although maybe the introduction of the naughty RS that's come out might have an effect on the market. But
I don't know, because that's a league above in terms of pricing.
That's true, but I mean, I bought it. The Lotus didn't lose a lot of money, to be fair, but I'm hoping this won't lose too much. But I tend to use it. Like, I just want to put some miles. I love driving it, so we'll put miles in and see where we are. But it's still going to be good money, even after 4 years.
So, yeah, I mean, you just noticed there, you get a lot of engine. You can hear the engine, right, when you're in the cab. You really can hear it coming through the back there because it's literally just sat behind us, and of course a lot of road noise.
Yeah, the tyre noise, big tyres, 295s under it.
295?
Yeah.
So my lowly 570S has only got 285s on the rear, which is rubbish, isn't it?
It's rubbish, man.
I don't know what they were thinking about there.
Should have a word with them.
The Artura's gone up a bit, I think that's 295 or maybe 300, a bit wider, don't quote me on that. But yeah, I mean, McLaren rear tyres, although it does tend to get the power down, alright. So, you ever lost traction in this yet? Of course you have.
No, not at all.
No? You drive it very sensibly, right?
Yeah, basically. You know, the traction is amazing. You've got the differential, massive tyres. Porsche just know how to get power down, don't they?
They do, yeah.
To be fair, the Lotus was incredible as well. It put the power down.
Yeah.
I don't know how the Lotus did it because it's so light. It's got a bit more weight, but the traction control is on. It's actually really hard to get it to step out of line.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I wasn't mad on with the Lotus, the Exige. I mean, it's a great car, loads of fun, but the sound of the thing, it was just too loud, and it was a bit flatulent stroke tuber sounding, wasn't it?
I know.
If you're suffering from flatulence, please see a doctor. But just to get that out there. But yeah, it was just too hooligan-y, right, for me, the sound of that. This is much more kind of throaty, a bit more refined, and not quite as in your face, right?
Yeah. Totally agree on that point. So, well, you've spent some good time in the Lotus, but when it had the valve, right, but when it was switched off, it was quite airy. You could hear the supercharger, but you didn't really get a lot. And then when you pressed the button, it was borderline obnoxious.
Yeah, it was.
And I lived with it for 3 years, so
you were basically obnoxious for 3 years of your life?
Yeah, I had an ASBO, I had an ankle bracelet, but you kind of have to driving that. So it was fun when you wanted it to be, but on motorways, it just got it was too loud. And the elephant in the room is when you want to take it on a track day, you get black flag for being too noisy.
Too loud, yeah.
So,
and you didn't get let on some tracks, right? Because they do a DB test beforehand and it comes back as too loud.
Yeah, so you basically have to, if you really want to get serious with that, is put a different exhaust system on to quieten it off. So thanks Lotus for selling me a track car that I can't take on tracks.
Yeah, nice touch that. So this, obviously looking at that, manual. You love a manual, right?
I love a manual. It's a really nice gearbox.
It sounds it,
The Lotus box was lovely. It's real clickety-clackety, open gates.
Yeah.
So similar. This is more of a meaty, chunky gear change, but it's super nice. The clutch feels good. I like it. Although saying that, I have left the sport button on because I'm just feeling a bit lazy. So you probably notice you've got the auto blip.
Oh, it's not you doing that?
That's not me.
Okay, well that is pretty cool. Because I thought you were showing off a little bit there when you were doing that with your. So it's got an auto blip when you change gear. That's super cool. Right, we're going to
give it a few beans up here.
Yeah, so I've got to say, it's not as fast as the Exige, but the chassis has got a little bit more give in it as well, but you can feel it's getting the power down beautifully, right? Yeah, and the sound. Yeah, that sounds absolutely lovely.
Get on the brakes.
So, yeah, lovely chassis. So not carbon ceramics in this?
No, standard steel brakes.
Yep. And they seem like they got enough bite?
Yeah, they're good, plenty of power. I would have liked the carbons, but you know, the spec was so good, it was what I was after. So I went with it. Although there is an option to potentially put some carbon, aftermarket carbon discs, which you can do, which fit inside the standard calipers. So
do you think you're going to be doing anything this car? I mean, not really. There's no need to, is there?
Maybe the discs if I wanted to up the ante a bit with track days. But that is great. I like the spec. To be honest, like I'm not really doing that many track days these days. So the balance is more road car bias, but that's fine for me. I want to do a few road trips. You know, maybe some more stuff in Wales, go up to Scotland, do the Gulf Coast 500, a bit on the continent when the restrictions calm down a bit. So this is nice. It's a lovely road car.
Yeah, it is. So GT4, what more do we get with the GT? Because we know the lower the number gets with Porsche, the more bonkers the car gets, right? Yeah. Right up to the GT1, which is of course not something you're likely to get your hands on in your lifetime. Certainly not me, anyway. but how does a GT4 Cayman differ to a normal Cayman?
I think it's quite substantial, isn't it, really? Just the whole package. I mean, where do you start? I think there was a quote, I can't remember the percentages, but it's getting on for sort of 70% new parts or something.
Right.
It's up there.
Are those parts from Halfords? Definitely not parts from Halfords. Yeah, doesn't sound like it.
Nah, when we could go to Halfords now.
What was that? A GTR?
Yeah.
God, that's bonkers. That was puffing out a lot of smoke, no doubt. Very heavily tuned. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. It is a lovely bit of kit, I'm sure you'll agree. It's going to hold its value like you would not believe. Absolutely bulletproof, so if you're thinking about one, probably a very good investment. Huge thanks to Martin for sporting us along on that journey. Very nice, very, very kind of him. Stay safe, stay well. Catch you soon. See you on the next one. Bye for now.